Pokemon X and Y fucking suck dick, so let's make them better.
If you've spent any time within the Pokemon community, first of all, I'm sorry, we don't get better. But secondly, you've probably heard that Generation 6 is considered to be the worst generation, primarily because it's home to the Kalos region with Pokemon X and Y. Now, while every game in the series is pretty much the exact same, we'll all claim that these are among the weakest ones. I don't necessarily agree with this, though. I think there are actually bad Pokemon games that deserve way more shit than these ones. And even then, Pokemon X and Y aren't that bad.
Yes, I in fact lied a little bit in the title to ensure more clicks on this video. But honestly, Pokemon X and Y do a lot right. They're not perfect, obviously, that's why I'm making this fucking video. But there are just a few blemishes that drag the experience down a lot because of just how the game is designed.
So, join me once again on Bro, Imagine, a series I forgot existed for like a full year. We're taking a look at X and Y today to try to fix them and see what I would do with an inevitable X and Y remake. This will also kind of double as a look back on these games as well, because it's their 10-year anniversary and they were my first Pokemon games. So while this video is primarily me fixing shit wrong with it, I may let nostalgia get in the way a little bit. So without any further delay, here we go. So I'm just gonna start off by saying I won't change the region design or the story all that much. The regions themselves don't really change too much with the remakes, they just get new areas that are mainly for the post-game only. And while they do tend to change the stories a bit in the remakes, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl showed that they may not want to be doing that anymore. And also, the story here is way too far gone to be fixed, I think. You'd have to be changing pretty much everything for this shit to be interesting. I also just want to get the EXP share out of the way. Look, you and I both know that they aren't going to remove this thing. You can't even turn it off anymore in the modern games anyways, so they definitely won't be removing it. But I see a lot of people pointing to it and blaming X and Y for being easy and stupid because of it. And I disagree. The game is just not balanced around it at all, and a lot of the changes I'll be making in this video are with this exact idea in mind, to balance the game around the EXP share, because it's definitely going to be required on this trip through Kalos, and a lot of these issues will be way more apparent when you can't turn it off. Let's start off with some minor stuff. TM should be infinite again, regional forms should be available in some way. Let us finally obtain AZ's Floette legitimately, because this thing has been rotting in the code of Pokemon games, completely inaccessible since X and Y. I feel like it's about time we officially get to use this dumbass flower. Anyways, my first real change is going to affect some encounters throughout the game. I'm changing the rivals. If you've played these games, you know that these rivals kind of fucking suck dick. I like the idea of having a whole friend group of rivals, but when you realize they all boil down to basic character traits and that you barely ever fight them, and when you do, they have nothing interesting on their teams except for Serena and Calum, they feel a lot lamer. I don't want them to actually feel like my friends or anything. I'd bully the shit out of Trevor if that was the case, and I'm not playing Pokemon for the character relationships, but I want the encounters to mean something. Let me fight them more often. Tierno starts his adventure saying that he wants to make a team full of Pokemon dancers, but you probably forgot that because you fight him once on Route 5 where he has a Pokemon that calling a dancer would be incredibly generous. You fight alongside him on Route 7 where he's still using the same thing, and again 17 hours later right before Victory Road, and his team isn't even that much bigger. What the fuck were you doing for the entirety of your adventure? I don't think I'd change Serena and Calum that much. They're the only rivals here that fight you, and I think their fights are fine enough. Maybe give them more Pokemon near the end? I don't know. Also, I'd still let them nickname you because naming yourself something vulgar automatically gives them more personality, and in these games, it's sorely needed. After the rivals, I would change up the gym leaders, because holy shit, this is the easiest bunch of bastards in the entire series. Mainly because they all only have 3 goddamn Pokemon each. In the late game especially, this is pitiful. It makes the fights go by so much faster and have way less impact. Granted, the more I play these games and the older I get, the less emotion I feel fighting them anyways, but even in the generation before this one, there were some gym leaders that were memorable and had fun fights, or in Elise's case, bullshit. I always forget the grass and fairy gym leaders exist, and I'm the kind of person who retains the most useless information ever, so that's incredibly out of character for me. Also, utilizing more Pokemon within the Kalos decks in the major story battles is also a great idea, because Kalos is one of the best regional dexes in the entire series, right up there with Sword and Shields, which makes me think about why they put the best Pokemon in the worst games. Also, I feel like Mega Evolution is incredibly underutilized. Not just by the gym leaders throughout the game. It always felt weird to me how the remakes of old-ass games released in the same generation use Mega Evolution in a much more effective way, and it feels way more fleshed out and realized there. There are 3 story battles where you fight someone with a Mega Evolution. The tutorial with Karina's Lucario, which, believe me, I got a whole fucking thesis statement to say about that goddamn thing. The final Lysander battle with his Gyarados, and the Champion's Gardevoir. By Gym 4, you should have a Pokemon that can Mega Evolve on your team, so by that point, I feel like the gym leader should start using Megas too. And in this remake, there'd be even more Megas to use as well because of Oras. For the big battle gimmick of this region, it's really not given that sort of fanfare, especially compared to the gimmicks that come in later games. Sure, you can use it all you want, but you don't see your opponents using it at all. And even then, I didn't feel that compelled to use it very much on this playthrough for footage. Though I'm aware that's just a me thing. Also, this part's kinda minor, but I wish the game didn't build your team for you as much. At the beginning you get your starter, obviously, and then eventually you get a Kanto starter. Alright, the Gen 1 dick riding is unnecessary. I believe this is the generation where it all really started, but whatever, I'll take the free Charizard. Then, eventually, you find a Snorlax blocking the road like in Gen 1 that you can catch. The Gen 1 dick riding continues. Alright guys, let's calm down a little bit. And then you get that Lucario. Again, we'll come back to that. And the Legendary. Look, I know you don't have to use any of these, but when you were younger playing this game, would you really turn down the chance to use another starter, and a free Lucario that can Mega Evolve, and a Legendary Pokemon? Snorlax can fuck off. That's 4 slots taken up. 5 if you count the Snorlax, and 6 if you count that Lapras that you get outside of Shalour City. This, in my opinion, leads to less variety and experimentation, and I really don't like it, especially considering the fact that this game, again, has one of the best regional dexes in the entire franchise, and I especially don't like it with Karina's cheap-ass Lucario. Your mileage may vary with how good this point is, but I just really don't like that you're given a free Lucario for nothing. The entire point of having a Lucario is catching a cool-looking Pokemon out in the wild, then raising it and becoming closer with it, not knowing when it's gonna evolve, and then when you finally find out, you get a really strong-looking and really cool member of your team. That's what I did for this playthrough for footage, and if I did this without the expectation of getting one later, I feel like it'd be much better. Karina just comes in, skips all the cool shit, and goes, "It can Mega Evolve! Wah!" I get they want it to be the tutorial for Mega Evolution, but the Kanto starter you get much earlier in the game comes with a Mega Stone, and by this point you should either have or almost have fully evolved it. This would have been the perfect time to fully introduce Mega Evolution to the player with Pokemon you've actually raised from the base evolution, and have been with for most of your adventure. Or better yet, cut out obtaining the Kanto starters altogether and give the Kalos starters Mega Evolutions. It was always strange to me when I was younger that the Pokemon you start the game with, the Pokemon that was in all the promotional material, the one that stays with you throughout the adventure, doesn't get to Mega Evolve. But that random Mawile you caught in the glittering cave that's rotting in box 4, yeah, that thing gets one. Fuck you. Nice things come rarely. You're a Pokemon fan, for Christ's sakes. That shit should be privy to you. But Tyler, no other Pokemon from Gen 6 can Mega Evolve because the mechanic is limited to older Gen Pokemon to give them new powers and make them more awesome.
Okay, fine, yeah, Barry, you have a point, except for the fact that you don't. 1, Gen 6 Pokemon can Mega Evolve.
But that's a mythical. It doesn't count.
Hey, shut up. Secondly, I don't fucking care. The entire point of this video is what could happen in an X and Y remake, and my next change is going to be giving the Kalos starters Megas. Actually, no, let's give more Kalos Pokemon Megas.
For most of us, this will be our second trip through Kalos, and I think this time around, it'll be so great to see all these Pokemon that were new back then, new once again with new forms. Plus, I just want an excuse to have Ash Greninja again, and making it Greninja's Mega Evolution would make so much sense. Anyways, the last change I'd make would be letting us explore more of Southern Kalos in the post-game. This game was initially rushed out, as it was the first game in the series to be released worldwide at the same time. They were also the first Pokemon games to be made alongside the Gear project. I won't get into this too much in this video, but it was essentially Game Freak's way of splitting up their development teams, one to work on Pokemon, and one to work on other IPs, such as Harmonite, Tembo the Badass Elephant, and other shit that you probably haven't heard of. Now this on its own wasn't much of a problem until you realize that they were doing this to replace Pokemon. I don't think I need to spell out how stupid of an idea this is, but because they did this, the post-game and many other aspects of X and Y took major hits, and you can feel those effects ripple throughout the rest of the series as we go forth to the future games. You can clearly see how X and Y were affected by this in many aspects. Resolution Cave being super lame, Killout City being super lame, and the only new post-game area, this train not going anywhere, legendaries like Mewtwo and the legendary birds just kind of sitting there. The post-game here is incredibly lackluster, probably the worst in the series, right up there with Sword and Shield. After Black and White 2 gave you so much to do in the post-game, I don't really expect modern Pokemon games to have substantial post-games, or post-games that would reach that level again. Even though they really should. But letting X and Y be what they were clearly planned to be originally would be pure bliss.
I would be a liar if I called X and Y good games, but I'd also be a liar if I called them bad games. For what they are, they're pretty good. But now that I'm older, I realized that I kind of gassed them up a little bit when I was younger. I thought that these games were fucking incredible, but now I kind of realize that they're a bit lame. With all these ideas I have for potential X and Y remakes, I really hope they all come true. And if you have any ideas for an X and Y remake that I didn't talk about in this video, please leave them in the comments below. I'd like to see what other people are thinking about these games. Though I do know we're probably not going to get these for a while because, you know, we have to wait until Black and White get remakes, and I'm just now remembering that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl exist, and if we do get remakes of that game, and also X and Y, they're probably going to turn out like that. And in case you guys don't remember, yeah, maybe it's a good idea that these won't happen for a while, or ever. Yeah, you know, never mind, fuck this video. I don't care about these games anymore. God, why do I still like this franchise?